It is 1917. You are 17. You live in New Jersey, and you have just been handed the best job in town. A fine brush, a pot of paint that glows in the dark. One instruction: keep the tip sharp. Nobody hands you a tool for that. The girl beside you just shows you what everyone does. Brush between the lips, twist, congratulations. You have just been handed a paycheck, a career, and a bill that arrives in 5 years. That is the thing about the 6 worst jobs in history. None of them hurt you on the first day, which is exactly why people kept doing them. The glowing girls. Radium was discovered less than 20 years ago, and nobody is remotely afraid of it. It is in toothpaste, in face cream, sold as a health tonic. Mixed with zinc sulfide, it makes a paint that glows on its own, forever, without electricity, which makes it worth a fortune. Watch dials, clock faces, aircraft instruments. Anything a pilot needs to read in the dark. The work is delicate, so the company hires girls. Most of you are 14, 15, 16. One of you is 11. The brushes are camel hair and go soft after a few strokes, so you were taught lip pointing on your first morning. Brush between the lips. Twist. Paint. Repeat. 200 to 400 times a day. Nobody tells you to stop because nobody in charge believes there is anything to stop. And the job has perks. The paint gets everywhere. Your hands, your smock, your hair. You paint your fingernails with it. Before a dance, you paint your teeth, so when the lights go down, you are the most interesting girl in the room. You are glowing. Everyone says so. And for about 3 years, this is the best thing that has ever happened to you. Then your tooth starts to ache. It is 1920, and it looks like an ordinary dental problem. An ache. Swollen gums. So you go to the dentist because that is what an aching tooth means. He pulls the bad tooth. Part of your jaw comes with it. There is no name for this yet. The doctors settle on radium jaw. Here is the part that should make you angry. The company already knows. They ran their own tests and buried the results. What follows is years of lawsuits brought by women who can barely walk into the courtroom. The settlement lands in 1928. $10,000 each, plus $600 a year for as long as the poisoning lasts. For several of you, that turns out not to be very long. But those lawsuits establish something that did not exist before you, that a company can be held responsible for what its work does to the people doing it. You paid for that with your jaw, and you got off lightly compared to the next one. The night soilmen. Go back 500 years. You are in London with the best paid bad job in the city. There is no sewer. Every house, every inn, every church has a pit underneath it, and everything goes into it. Somebody has to empty that pit. And tonight, that is you. You are a gong farmer. The law is very specific about you. You may not start before 9 at night and must finish by 5 because nobody wants to see or smell what you are hauling in daylight. So you work by lantern. You climb down with a shovel and a bucket, fill the cart, and get it outside the walls before sunrise. You are probably assuming the danger is the filth. It is not. The filth is just unpleasant. Decomposing waste produces methane and hydrogen sulfide. In a sealed pit, both build up quietly until they either drop you where you stand or find the open flame you brought down with you. There is a coroner's record from 1326. A man named Thomas White suffocated in a cesspit under a London church. His assistant climbed down to pull him out and died within minutes of reaching the bottom. So why on earth would anyone take this job? Because a skilled gong farmer in 14th century London earns 4 shillings for one night's work. An ordinary laborer earns 3 pence a day. Work 3 nights a week and you out-earn a master carpenter, a stonemason, and several members of the clergy. You have the most disgusting job in London and one of the best salaries in it. All you have to do is be willing to die in a hole for it, which at least you knew about going in. The next one, nobody warns you at all. The climbing boys. It is the 18th century. You're between 4 and 8 years old, and you're about to become a piece of specialist equipment. Coal heats everything, coal leaves soot, and soot has to come out of the chimney. The flues narrow to a passage smaller than a kitchen cupboard. No adult fits. No brush reaches every bend. So the trade uses children, and you are the right size. You were apprenticed, sold, or handed over by parents who could not feed you. You are a climbing boy now. You go up inside the flue with a scraper, in the dark, pressed on all sides. And if you stop, your master has a solution. He lights a small fire underneath you. We still use a phrase for panic in a tight space. It comes from this trade, and it comes from you. You work covered head to foot in soot and almost never wash because water costs money and nobody is spending money on you. And that soot is the thing that kills you. But not for another 15 years. In 1775, a London surgeon called Percivall Pott notices something. He keeps seeing the same cancer in the same place, in young men in their early 20s. He asks about their history and gets the same answer every time. They were all sweeps as children. Pott publishes that year and names the cause: soot, held for years against the skin. That paper is the first description of an occupational cancer in medical history. The first time anybody proves that something in the environment can cause a malignancy. Every workplace exposure limit that exists today traces back to one surgeon looking at chimney sweeps and asking what they had in common. So the problem is solved. Except it takes another 13 years to get a law, the law is barely enforced, and boys keep climbing for most of the next century. Knowing what is killing you turns out to be step one of about 40. The sandhogs. It is 1870, you are in New York, and you are $2 a day. And they are about to build the Brooklyn Bridge, and before anything goes above the water, the towers need foundations below. The solution is a caisson, an enormous wooden box, open at the bottom, sunk into the riverbed, and pumped full of compressed air to keep the water out. You climb down inside and dig the riverbed away by hand. The box sinks as you work. Down there it is hot, loud, lit by gas flame, the air thick enough to feel. That is the job. Dig, haul, go back up. And going back up is the part that kills you. The deeper the box goes, the higher the pressure inside, and the more nitrogen dissolves into your blood. Come up too fast and it comes back out of solution, as bubbles inside your body, exactly like a bottle opened too quickly. You call it caisson disease. Later it gets a shorter name: the bends. It starts as joint pain sharp enough to fold you in half. Then cramps, vomiting, chills, slurred speech, paralysis. Some recover in hours. Some never walk again. On the 22nd of April, 1872, a laborer named John Myers becomes the first to die of it on the project. 8 days later, Patrick McKay. Within the same month, Daniel Reardon. Over 100 workers are affected. Around 25 die building that bridge, and nobody knows why. The leading theories are cold, exhaustion, and bad air, which is how the chief engineer becomes one of his own casualties. Washington Roebling goes down to inspect the Manhattan caisson, comes up wrong, and is carried out unconscious. He never fully recovers. Damaged eyesight, partial paralysis, headaches that end his career on site. He directs the rest of the construction from a window overlooking the river, through a telescope, while his wife carries his instructions to the bridge every day. That bridge is still standing. So is the next one, in a manner of speaking, and it glows. The matchgirls. You are 15, you are in the East End of London, and your jaw is about to start glowing. Matches are new, cheap, and in every pocket in the country. The heads are made with white phosphorus and somebody has to dip them. Usually a woman, around 3/4 of the workforce, and often a girl your age. 14-hour days, rooms with almost no ventilation, phosphorus vapor all day, every day. It begins in the mouth, a toothache that will not go away. Then swelling, then abscesses. Then the jawbone itself starts to die inside your face. The condition is phosphorus necrosis of the jaw. Everybody calls it phossy jaw. And it has a detail people at the time find hard to look at. In a dark room, the affected jaw glows. A faint greenish light from inside a living face. The only treatment is surgical removal of the jawbone. Refusing it is usually fatal. The factory knows. You know. And the safer alternative, red phosphorus, already exists. It just costs more. So in 1888, 1,400 of you walk out of the Bryant and May factory. You strike over pay, over the fines deducted from your wages, over the conditions. And after 3 weeks, you win. The fines are abolished. Nobody is punished for striking. It becomes one of the most important labor actions of the century, organized by teenage girls with no money and no power. So they banned the phosphorus, obviously. They banned it in 1910, 22 years later. Winning the argument and fixing the problem turn out to be two completely different things. The Hatters. Last one. And you already know this one because you have used the phrase. You make felt hats. It starts with fur, rabbit, hare, sometimes beaver, and to turn loose fur into dense felt, the fibers have to be roughened so they lock. For nearly 2 centuries, that means brushing the pelts with an orange solution of mercuric nitrate. The process is called carroting. After the color, it turns everything. Then you work it with heat and steam in a small room with the windows shut, because a draft ruins the felt. Heat plus mercury equals mercury vapor. And you breathe it every working day for years. Mercury does its damage in the nervous system, and it does it slowly. It starts as a tremor, a fine shake in the hands. Unfortunate, because your trade depends on precision. Over time, it spreads to your eyelids, your lips, your tongue. But the shaking is not what people notice. What people notice is that you have changed. The condition is called erethism, irritability, anxiety, a crippling shyness that makes you avoid being watched while you work. Loss of confidence, memory, depression, apathy. In advanced cases, delirium and hallucinations. You are a skilled craftsman slowly becoming somebody your own family describes as a different man. By 1837, mad as a hatter is already a common expression in England. Most historians connect the phrase to this. The origin is debated and may have older roots, but the poisoning is not. That part is thoroughly documented. And hatters keep using mercury well into the 20th century. Not because nobody knew, because it worked, it was cheap, and the bill took 10 years to arrive. Which brings us back to the bill. 6 jobs, 6 different centuries. Same machine underneath all of them. Not one of these hurt you on the first day. The paint was fun. The pit paid brilliantly. The chimney was just dirty. The bridge was just hard work. That delay is the entire reason they lasted as long as they did. A danger you can see, you avoid. A danger that arrives 5 years later just looks like bad luck. And every one of them ended the same way. Not when the work became dangerous. It was always dangerous. They ended when somebody finally counted, noticed, and made the connection visible. That is the whole history of workplace safety. Somebody counting. The uncomfortable part is that the counting always started too late for whoever was already holding the brush.